Hi, welcome back to Lakeside Quilt Making Arts. I appreciate you being here and spending a little bit of time with me. This is a vlog style channel. It's all about a journey, a learn with me vlog is what I'm calling it. And it's called Lakeside because I live lakeside, and that's why I use the nomenclature Dawn at the Lake. So on Tuesdays, I release videos that are technical tips, whether it's ergonomics or it's improving the studio in some way, or like in the case of this video, it's a couple of obstacles that I've encountered over the weekend while I was in my studio that might help you. Number one, your cutting mat is not created equally. I will show you, I'll put it on screen while I'm talking. I have some mats on my cutting table that evidently are not the same quality as a little bitty mat that I had on another table that I had used when I was using that setting, that little nook setting, you know, where you got your machine here, you're pressing and pressing on one side and cutting on another, and you're just not really moving because you've got yourself in a little nook. I tried that earlier last year, and I talked about that in my ergonomics discussion last week, that's not really healthy for our pelvis, for our SI joints, for our lumbar. And the only way to really accomplish that with any kind of success to the health of your spine is if you have a chair with wheels on it and lumbar support. And then to do that, then you don't need to have a chair with arms. So that's kind of a recap of last week's video. So that little cutting mat that I had beside my sewing machine hasn't been getting any use. And I needed to cut something quickly, and I thought, well, I don't want to clean off my cutting mat at the moment. Let me just grab this other little one and I'll put it on top of my ironing board. I did that, and I started to cut, and it was mushy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a terrible mat. How did I ever keep this? Why did I not notice this before? It's mushy. And then I realized I was gliding through that fabric with great ease, much easier than I've ever done on this other mat, this big mat that's on my table. So I'll have to share the name of them. I'll do that in the description of the video. So my point is, they're not created equally. If you're in the market for a cutting mat, do your research. There's a great video done by Karen Brown of JustGetitDoneQuilts. I was watching that last night to kind of learn a little bit, because I want more like this little cutting mat on my big table one day when I can afford to replace it. Of course, this mat, it works fine, and I do like the fact it's a dark gray. It kind of recedes. It doesn't add color to the room because there's a lot of color going on in here, as you can see. And I already had colorful art on the walls too. And I don't mind it. I don't mind it. But that is why I'm trying to keep everything else in the room toned down, whether it's in just black or just white, or brown floors and that kind of thing. So what I learned on Karen's video was there's a difference in thicknesses. There's like 1 millimeter, I believe, and 3 millimeter, but I don't want to misrepresent her, and I haven't done her research to say for sure, but there are definitely mats of different thicknesses. And it was this softer mat. Hang on, I'll show it to you. This is the brand that I like. Westcott. It is definitely thicker than the one on my cutting table. The one on my cutting table is feeling it right now, and I've not measured any of them, but it's I can tell how much I can discern a difference with my fingers as I lay them side by side. There's a little ridge as I get up to this one. So this one is definitely thicker, but it also feels softer. I don't know if thicker should necessarily equate to harder or softer. And because of that, I think it is taking the blade differently. Like I can feel it's not as smooth as the one on my cutting table that I've used far more. I've used it far more than this one. But that's one of the reasons also why I pulled this one away from the sewing table area, is so that I could protect my cutting mat, because I'm generally finding that I'm using like one little section of it. I thought, well, I'll put a smaller one in that section and use that in that place. And that way, when this one gets worn out, I'm just replacing something that's cheaper to replace. You can also flip your cutting mats over and use both sides of them, so you get double the wear, which is great. That's good to know, really good to know. Something else to mention along these same lines This past weekend, I was doing some cutting and I was just doing some smaller things. I was creating this, where is it? There it is. So hard to do this behind your back. I was working on the Moda Fabrics block. I was working with shirts, different types of shirt fabrics, and they've not been starched. And in fact, I need to wash them all, I think, because I'll tell you about why I think I need to rewash them all in the next segment here. But anyway, everything was slipping a little bit. The fabric was a little bit more flimsy. So I thought, okay, supposedly this Quilters Select ruler from the quilt show, supposedly it's a lot more non-slip. Well, hallelujah, it is exactly that. And I knew it was, but I didn't fully appreciate the value of it. I used this to make most of my cuts for that block, and except for where I needed something longer than what this side was, but I never had to put a weight on it, and it didn't slip and slide around. That is unheard of for me. I just can't press down hard enough and then press hard enough with my rotary blade without moving my ruler around. And using the two of these together, right? The mat that works better with the ruler that works better, it was a win-win. So I do want to recommend this combination to anybody and everybody. Is there a better mat? Maybe, and I'll be researching that, but this is where I am at the moment. And I will only be getting this kind of ruler in the future. I love my, I almost said Quilters Select on these two, Creative Grids. My Creative Grid rulers, like I use these so much. And I love that they're so transparent. They're clear. They do have non-slip grips on the back. There's dots through here and here and here. No, just one there. And then another row here. And then all the way around the perimeter of that 1/4 inch. That's a non-slip surface. Actually, here it's 1/2 inch. Half, 1/4, and 1/4. I didn't realize that before. And there's good markings on it. It's good clear markings, and it's in black, dark and light, so that you can put it on either fabric option. And I do love that. I really do. But I really need a fully non-slip surface. Now, if you've encountered this kind of ruler and you said, yeah, but Donna, it's going to wear out, it loses its stickiness, let me know that before I invest anymore, because these suckers are not cheap. But I think every time I ever make a purchase from the quilt show again, I will be getting one of these and one of these when I can afford it, because as we know, quilting is not an inexpensive hobby, which is why I was trying to go with shirt fabrics for this quilt. Not only that, but I didn't want to go into town and waste my time doing that, which is 45 minutes one way. So you're using gas, you're using time, and all that. So I was going to just go to a thrift store, but I decided to look at Unclaimed Baggage, which is where I got those fabrics from. That's a store in Scottsboro, Alabama, which is where I live. Actually, I say it's where I sleep and quilt, but my life is still in Huntsville, Alabama. But this is just where my hobby goes on and my sleeping goes on. And evidently my shirt buying from Unclaimed Baggage. So the reason I'm going on and on about that is to explain about my next little encounter where my technical tip is. So if you're buying shirts for your fabric, I just want to overemphasize that you do a little test to make sure that things are all cotton. I don't believe this one is. It doesn't say, and I think I was just taking it for granted that it was, since all the others in that section were, and it feels like cotton. It feels like 100% cotton, but I don't believe it is 100% cotton, and the reason I say that is because I messed up my iron yesterday. In the middle of working on the Moda Fabric block, this is block 1 of the Moda Fabrics Group 2, blockheads, Group 2. I'm late to the party, but I am doing Blockheads 5, Group 2. And this is the very first one. This is Sherry McConnell's A Big Dream, I think. Oh, Dream Big. Can't believe I had that right there in front of me. How convenient. Speaking of convenient, I was going to do this video outside at the lake for you, so you'd have a different background, something, more nature-filled. but evidently someone's doing some tree trimming. So, we're not going to be doing that. But after I record this, I'm going to go to the lake and I'll take a few snapshots and I'll include them at the end of the video just for you. So I can take you to the lake with me. So I messed up my iron. And when I first noticed it was when I was ironing this fabric. It was just a little piece of it. It was just too flimsy. I thought, I need to stiffen this up a little bit and flatten it out before I work with it much. It gave some resistance and it looked like this fabric was burning. But I'm wondering now in retrospect if it was burning or if there was already something on the iron that was catching on this. So even though I got my iron cleaned up, I'm going to have to retest this fabric before I just throw it out. See where I was cutting on it? I hate to just throw this out because I like it. It's a tone on tone in the right color green, the seafoam green that I want. And then the other question is, was it one of the other shirts? So I need to go back through all my shirts and make sure they were all cotton. This is the only one so far that I've looked at that does not have a cotton tag on it. But who is this? I can't remember. See, there's no tags whatsoever on this. It's a 4XL. I got all this fabric for $5. It's a 4XL. And you may know, I don't know, men's clothing, whoever that logo is, man on a horse with it's a knight on a horse. That should tell me. I know it should tell me. It just isn't popping to my mind. So what I did when I noticed my iron had this junk on it, this burn spot on it, I thought, great, this is going to really put a snag in my productivity. Then I thought, no, because also sitting by my sewing machine, that little nook I had created at one time, was my little iron. And I thought, I've been wanting to pull it out anyway because it's smaller for doing just one area at a time. You're not pressing on seams you're not trying to press on. And it gets really hot. Well, it used to get really hot. I bought this last January, I believe it was, and used it last winter. And that's all she wrote on that. When I first plugged it up, it was warm. And I thought, great, it's getting hot. There was moments of being warm, and that was it. And I plugged it into different outlets now, so I don't know if somehow it got shorted. I don't know what happened, but this is junk now. And this is steam fast. I bought it at Walmart. If you have a different experience with this, let me know, because I do like the little guy. I'll probably get another small one because it does make a difference when at the back of something like this, where you're trying to press seams, and you've got so many little seams around the one you're trying to press, you need a little iron. I do have a little wand. It's plugged up over on the wall opposite of me, and I don't want to unplug it, but one of those little wands that has just a little pressing head on it. It's about that big. So I might need to pull that over to my ironing board since I'm not using it at the sewing machine anymore. I'm telling you, it was just really wrecking my lumbar and my pelvis and my SI joint to work inside of a nook. And because I don't now do that, I'm getting more of a workout because every time I sew something, I have to get up, walk over to my ironing place, and that's pumping my legs because, you're getting up from a seated position, and that's much healthier for the body. It does tire you more quickly, which is probably fine because you're getting a workout, which is so much better for the body than sitting in one position. We have to do what we can to take care of our bodies, and quilting can be an extraordinarily sedentary hobby. So it's okay if we incorporate something into the procedures of that works us a little bit. There are times, though, where I really want to cheat. I just want to do it all in one spot. It'd be so much quicker because I have to give up on my day more quickly because I'm actually getting a bit of a workout while I'm doing this. So what did I do about my iron? I'll tell you what I did. I YouTubed it because, YouTubing is now a verb. I looked up what to do with an iron that had burns on it. The video that I clicked on, I'm glad I clicked on it versus the one I looked at second, because the second one was like, oh, if you buy this product from Missouri Star Quilt Company, then you're fine. the message of that video was not that simple. I am definitely simplifying. But the one I did watch was much more helpful. You know, of course, whenever you pull up a how-to video, you always need to look at the comments and see what people are saying about it. And so everybody was like, oh yeah, the salt treatment worked. I'm like, oh, that may ruin the surface of my iron. And I thought, well, it's probably ruined anyway if I don't get this garbage off of it. So what the trick was to take table salt, just white, iodine, what do you call that? Morton's iodized salt, and put it on a paper towel, you know, on top of your, they said on top of your ironing board, but I wish I had not done it in here. I wish I had done it in my kitchen because I now have little sprinkles of salt everywhere. Now, before I go any further, I do have a disclaimer. I do not use water in my iron. I just don't find it very helpful. I use water. I use actually Mary Ellen's Best Press inside of a sprayer when I want to moisten something. I just don't find it helpful. I have never owned a super good iron though. I'm sure if I owned one of the steam irons that I've seen at the stores, I probably would sing a different tone. But I do believe that I have a Rowenta, you know, it's not a $10 iron, but it also was not more than probably $35. And it's working great. It gets hot, but I feel like if I put water in it and use the steam function, it's going to get clogged up. It's going to just become a problem. And I've heard other people say that their steam irons become a problem if they actually use them with steam, put water in them. So I don't use steam in it. So I'm not as concerned about any salt getting up inside the little holes. But they said that if any salt gets up inside the holes after you've gotten your iron all cleaned up, then you just run it on the hottest setting and fill it full of water and just steam out all that salt, and that you won't have any problems with it at all. But I'm telling you, a good bit of salt ended up inside those holes. So all you do is you take a paper towel and put it on your ironing board or another thick protected surface. You put a paper towel down, you put your salt on it, and then you just rub your iron on that, on the hottest setting, and over and over and over. And at first I was getting a little bit discouraged because I didn't discern a difference. I hung in there because I wanted it to work. I needed it to work. I wanted to finish my block. I didn't want to end my day on a failure, you know, something to derail me like that. So I persevered. It didn't take very long, but, you know, I was impatient because I wanted to be doing that instead. So I just kept on going back and forth and up and down and going different motions. And then I started to see it was actually eating away at the edge. And it wasn't a large area. It was probably half of that. So like that large of an area on my iron. I should have taken pictures, but I think I was just too frustrated to do that. And, you know, as typical, there was a heavier area and then it dissipated from there. And it was on that outside edge, which proved to be the most difficult part to actually get the last little bits off of. So that worked. You know, it took us some perseverance, and especially to get, like I said, the very last little bit and the bit on the edge. And so after that, though, I was using a pressing cloth, which is just a man's handkerchief. I'm not so sure that there wasn't something on that pressing cloth that might have gotten on my iron, because even though I was trying to protect my iron from touching the shirts again, which slowed down my process, which is why I'm saying that I need to wash all those shirts again. I just assumed that they were all washed coming from unclaimed baggage, but they're not all used shirts coming from there. Some of their shirts, some of their inventory are from, what do you call that? But shipments that have been rejected or shipments that have been lost and those kind of things. It's not just from people losing their luggage at the airport. Thank goodness, because as much business as they do, I would probably never put a little piece of luggage in at the airport, claim it at the airport. No. So back to my point. So I need to wash all those shirts again because it might have been something on one of the other shirts, and this shirt may actually have cotton. It may be only cotton. We'll see. I'm going to have to spend some time doing a test, and I'll let you know. I'll do that on Instagram and let you know the results of that. So when I was using the pressing cloth to cover up all of the seams as I was pressing them, because just in case it wasn't this fabric that was messing me up, but I for darn sure did not want to get my iron on that fabric accidentally, not even a tad bit. I wanted to be moving forward, not going backwards. But I also had a little bit of resistance when I was pressing on this. So I, looked at the back of my iron, and it was a little bit smudged in the center this time. Now I'm thinking, well, that's weird because since I cleaned it, it has not touched any shirt fabric. It's only been touching the pressing cloth. But I've not been keeping the pressing cloth facing just one direction or the other. So it might be that something from some sizing material or something from the shirts had gotten into the pressing cloth, and then that got transferred to my iron. I don't know, but I need to go down a little bit of a journey to explore this before I move further. And certainly before I use any more of this fabric, do I need to explore things further. I do like this shirt, because it's tone on tone. It has just a little bit of movement to it, but not a lot of movement, obviously, because it's a stripe. But I do want, on another note, I have decided I want to use, instead of a white background on these blocks, I want to use a background that has a floral or something in it, like a real open design on it, so it's not heavily saturated, kind of like the one that Sherry McConnell did that she showed me for this blog. I really like that. That's what won me over on doing the Moda Fabrics quilt along as the quilt that I'm doing for one of my angels. Okay, so I think I have warned you enough about double checking whether or not your fabric is 100% cotton if you are working with shirts. I've warned you about the steam fast iron, and I have warned you about mats. Like I've done my PSA civic duty. All right, this is it for this video. I'm going to go to the lake, get some shots for you, and show you those at the end. I hope you have a glorious day. Thank you for being here, and I really appreciate you subscribing. Those of you that have, it just really means a lot. It's the only real feedback I get that what I'm doing here has any value to you, so I really appreciate that. When you're brand new and you have 28 subscribers, you're just like, okay, is anybody out there listening? Does anybody care? But there's 28 people who are out there, and I appreciate it. And if you're out there watching but you haven't subscribed, please do. It would mean the world to me. You have a beautiful day. Thank you for spending some time with me. Talk to you later. Bye. Clearly, we should have gone ahead and come out here for our little talk that we just had. Isn't that beautiful? It is February 5th when I'm filming this. It's 55 degrees here. I'm not in a coat or gloves. It's fantastic. Okay, do you see, let me see if, yeah, you see that little stretch of the peninsula there? I'm going to take you there next, so hang on, wait a minute. So right now I am at the end of the peninsula as far as the paved area, and then I'm going to take the little walk to the very tip of it and then give you a kind of a panoramic view from there. It's really a beautiful place. It really is. The crook of this peninsula kind of reminds me of, is it Delaware, I think? I think it is. Hear the birds chirping? So this view gives you an idea of how thin this little peninsula is. See, there's water on both sides. I hope this video is not too unstable. Hear the birds? That's where the pavilion is. We're walking to that very tip. I imagine this is pretty shaky, so I'm just going to wait till we get to the end. Okay, we're getting close to the very tip. Looks much wider when you get up on it, doesn't it? For reference, this is where the evergreen was that you may have seen from our last angle. Trying to do a 360 here if I can without twisting myself in two. Right over there is where we started our little lake tour. So do you hear the birds? Are those all ducks? I think they are, aren't they? So we started off at the very tip, Panning to my right. Sun's in my face, so I can't see the screen even. That's where I just walked from. This is the Bay area. And right over there, if you can see where there's a truck in the distance, that's where I was standing whenever we started our little tour. Back at the tip. It's beautiful here. So I hope you enjoyed that. I just wanted you to feel a little bit of spring because that's what I'm feeling today. Coming to the lake is never a disappointing experience. It's just a very healing place for me, and I hope that there's some place in your world, in your day-to-day, that you're able to access that is just as healing for you. Have a beautiful day. We'll see you soon. Bye.